By early 1945, World War II was entering its final chapter. Germany surrendered unconditionally on May 8, 1945, VE Day. However, on the Pacific Front, the war continued with unrelenting ferocity between the Allied forces and Imperial Japan. Despite a string of devastating military defeats, Japan showed absolutely no willingness to surrender. The battles of Iwo Jima and Okinawa proved exceptionally costly. At Okinawa alone, total Allied casualties exceeded 50,000, while roughly 110,000 Japanese defenders died. The United States Air Force had also been conducting a massive strategic bombing campaign against Japanese cities. On the night of March 9, 1945, a massive air raid dropped approximately 1,665 tons of incendiary bombs on Tokyo. The ensuing firestorm killed an estimated 80,000 to over 100,000 civilians. Despite this catastrophic destruction, Japan did not capitulate. By mid-1945, Japan's strategic situation was dire. The Imperial Japanese Navy had been effectively annihilated, and a naval blockade was strangling the economy. Yet, the Japanese military devised an ambitious, desperate defense plan, Operation Ketsu-Go. It mobilized 28 million civilian militia members and over 12,000 kamikaze aircraft. The goal was simple: inflict such massive American casualties that public opinion would force a negotiated peace, preserving the emperor. In July 1945, Allied leaders convened at the Potsdam Conference. The Allies issued the Potsdam Declaration, an ultimatum to Imperial Japan. They demanded unconditional surrender. The alternative was prompt and utter destruction. Japan's response was swift, announced that Japan would mokusatsu the declaration, meaning to ignore or treat with contempt. The military faction called the declaration laughable. This rejection sealed the decision to use atomic weapons. The atomic bomb was the product of the Manhattan Project, a top-secret U.S. program employing over 130,000 people and costing over $2 billion. On July 16, 1945, the world's first nuclear device, codenamed Trinity, was detonated in New Mexico, yielding a 21-kiloton blast. Witnessing the explosion famously recalled, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." A target committee convened to identify suitable targets, large urban areas containing important military or industrial facilities. Removed Kyoto from the list due to its cultural significance, fearing it would make post-war reconciliation impossible. Nagasaki was added. Hiroshima was chosen as the primary target. It was a major logistics hub, the headquarters of the Second Army, and crucially, it had no prisoner of war camps. At 2:45 a.m. on August 6, 1945, the B-29 Enola Gay lifted off, carrying the uranium bomb Little Boy. At 8:15 a.m. local time, the bomb was released. It fell for 44.4 seconds before detonating roughly 600 meters above the city. The temperature at the hypocenter reached up to 4,000 degrees Celsius. Within a 1.6-kilometer radius, nearly every human being was killed instantly, and roughly 90% of all structures were destroyed. Survivor Akiko Takakura recalled, "A massive flash of light, then everything turned dark. Then I heard a roaring sound. An estimated 70,000 to 80,000 people died immediately." the city's medical infrastructure collapsed simultaneously. Catastrophe compounded on August 8th. The Soviet Union declared war and launched a massive invasion of Japanese-occupied Manchuria with over 1.5 million troops. The next day, August 9th, a second atomic mission launched. Finding the primary target covered in smoke, the bomber Boxcar diverted to Nagasaki. At 11:01 a.m., Fat Man, a more powerful plutonium device, was released, detonating above the Urakami Valley. The surrounding hills contained the blast, but an estimated 40,000 to 70,000 people were still killed immediately. Even after Nagasaki, Japan's military leadership was deeply divided. War Minister Anami and others still refused unconditional surrender. In an unprecedented move, Emperor Hirohito broke the deadlock. He issued his sacred decision to accept the terms, provided the imperial throne was preserved. On August 15th, the Japanese people heard their emperor's voice on the radio for the first time in history, announcing the surrender. The bombings remain morally contested. Proponents argue they shortened the war and prevented a land invasion that could have cost hundreds of thousands of American and Japanese lives. Opponents, including General Dwight D. Eisenhower and Admiral William D. Leahy, argued Japan was already defeated and the bomb was completely unnecessary. Many Manhattan Project scientists urged the government to demonstrate the bomb first, warning it would precipitate a global arms race. The survivors, the Hibakusha, suffered for decades from radiation-related cancers and intense social discrimination. Today, the Hiroshima Peace Memorial stands as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, bearing witness to the devastation. The bombings inaugurated the nuclear age. Today, roughly 12,000 to 13,000 nuclear warheads exist, enough to destroy human civilization many times over. The ruins of Hiroshima and Nagasaki stand as the most powerful argument ever made for why nuclear weapons must never be used again.